Hey guys, I'm Victoria and welcome back to FemmeHead. Today I want to talk about how to stay consistent with FAM or the fertility awareness method or some other type of charting method that you may be using. I want to start this off by saying this is more of a video for those of us out there that have learned a method and understand it thoroughly. But if you're, playing around with the idea of using FAM or you've just started, this video will also pertain to you, but just please take the time and put an effort to learn a method correctly and thoroughly and practice it, because it takes more to make FAM effective than just taking your temperature and checking your fluid and putting that into an app. Unless, of course, it's something like Daisy or Natural Cycles, but that's another topic. But let's say that you've gotten your method chosen, you've learned it thoroughly, but you're kind of at the beginning stages of still making it into a habit to do these things every single day. This is kind of for you. And I kind of want to talk about three-ish different things today, so let's just get right into it. The first thing is set alarms, make reminders. You know what you need to do to remind yourself to do something and implement that in using FAM. Remembering to take your temperature is easy. Just set an alarm that is dedicated, like this is your temperature taking alarm, and it goes off daily. Don't make it so you have to switch it on every single night. Just make it so it consistently goes off every single day without you having to do anything. And then when that goes off, you take your temperature. And I always set my alarm, my temperature alarm, for well before I'm gonna normally ever get up. Besides, I would say 2 or 3 times a month. And then my alarm goes off, I take my temperature, I put it into my app, and then I go back to sleep for at least another half hour to an hour. This keeps my temperature taking time consistent, and that's kind of one of my tips I recommend to people that take my course too, is set it earlier than you are going to need it, and you can always go back to sleep. As for your cervical fluid, how can you remind yourself? Some apps will have built-in reminders, but will just ding you every now and then, check your cervical fluid. You could set some sort of alarm on your phone. I used to write cervical fluid on my upper thigh where it would be covered by shorts, but when I took my pants off, I would see on my leg cervical fluid, and so usually when I took my pants off, I was going to the bathroom, so I'd be like, oh yeah, check my cervical fluid. And that was one weird thing that helped me. The second point I want to make is you want to be inputting and analyzing your data daily. And when I say data, I'm talking about your fertility symptoms that you've been tracking. And I say this because I got a concerning email the other day. I don't know how far along this particular gal was in her charting journey, but she wrote me and asked me, how long did it take you? Like, how long did you chart before you don't have to chart anymore because you just knew your cycle and you knew when your fertile window was? And I had to pause, and I emailed back and I was like, wait a second, am I hearing this correctly? And I was like, as nicely as I could and lovingly as I could, I'm like, this is something you have to do every single day. Even though you will learn your body and you will know where you are in your cycle because of how you're feeling, you still have to chart. You still have to take your temperature and check your cervical fluid every single day for the rest of your life or however long you plan to chart. This is a daily thing. You don't just learn and then magically not have to do it anymore. And I don't know if that's clear to some people. So if you want to choose a charting method, you have to do it every single day. Depending on if you store your data in an app or on a paper chart, whichever method works for you. Apps are really handy because if you're out and about during the day, you don't necessarily carry your paper chart around with you. When you check your fluid, you can just put it into your app. But if you do like to use a paper chart, you can jot down a note in your phone, you could email yourself, I don't know, whatever works for you, just to make sure you're taking that data that you're collecting that day and putting it into your chart, whatever form that may be. Kind of going off of both those things, don't get into the habit of, okay, for the past 5 cycles, I have ovulated on day 11. I'm gonna ovulate on day 11 this cycle. Regardless how spot on your cycles are every single month, change happens and fluctuation happens. And that's where mistakes are made when you get, I don't wanna say too comfortable, you get a little bit too lax with the method. Personally, my cycle fluctuates anywhere from 25 to 29 days. And that may not sound like a big window, but 4 days, I think that's 4 days. 4 days is a big window when it comes to your fertility window. And the third thing I kind of want to touch on that a lot of people who are first starting off with FAM are worried about is we're always concerned that we're somehow not going to be able to follow the rules or they're going to be too hard to follow. People are worried they don't understand them, but then also they're worried that they're not going to have enough safe days and then they'll somehow be tempted, or however you want to put it. But there are going to be plenty of days in your cycle to safely have sex. And so I just want to say that and say, don't risk it. If you know you're in a fertile window, you don't have to have sex. You can still do so many other fun things, but you don't have to have like penetration, penis and vagina sex that could result in pregnancy if you're in your fertile window. Or you could just use condoms. If you've learned the method, you know the science behind it, and you know why the rules are there. And like I said, there's plenty of other activities you can partake in with your partner that doesn't involve the risk of sex. And kind of going along with that, make sure you're referencing back to the rules and guidelines really frequently. I looked at them all the time in the beginning, and I still reference back to them even now if I'm ever so slightly unsure about something. And so even when you feel like you've gotten to the point of like, oh, I've got this, I understand this, keep referencing back to them, keep checking them, and keep making sure you're doing it correctly. And at first, you're just gonna have to force yourself, remind yourself to do these things, to take your temperature, to check your fluid, to reference back to the rules and make sure you're following them. But I promise it will become second nature to you in not that much time, but that doesn't mean you can stop charting. Continue to chart. You have to do that every single day. If you want to watch a video where I kind of go over a few fam mistakes that I've seen or heard of, I'll link that. I can never remember which side it is, one of these sides, and down below. And also, if you've kind of been toying around with the idea of learning how to chart your cycle, I have a course that is perfect for you. It's called Chart Your Cycle, and I will link that down in the description box. I go over the sympto-thermal method and everything you need to know to start charting properly. And with that, that's what I have to say today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!